of sacrifice. Often, diseases in human beings occurs as a natural expression of a person's fate, as an accumulation of their previous actions, karma, and also the combination of influences from celestial luminaries, and so on. It is impossible to cure such a person by normal means. This person is condemned for life, or at least some part of it, to be burdened with illness or bad luck. However, there were ancient methods for changing a person's, and even nations' karma. This method consists of substitute sacrifice, which takes away a person's sin, karma, with it. The art of sacrifice was highly developed among all nations in previous times. The law of sacrifice was used by ancient Judea. Each year, a person trained in performing sacrificial rituals used to transfer all people's sins onto a black goat, scapegoat, which was then cast out into the desert. Christ, at his crucifixion, took all the sins of the people who had faith in him. An example of it is the sinner who was crucified right next to him, to whom he said, "Today you will enter the kingdom of heaven." It was common at other times for the relatives of a sick person to undertake their loved one's suffering, so that the person could recover. Unskilled extrasensory people do the same thing. They unwittingly undertake their patients' diseases. Often, a disease could be the result of an intrusion of a negative entity, evil spirit, of the subtle worlds. In the Gospels, we can find episodes where Christ exorcised such entities from people. On one occasion, he healed a mentally ill person, exorcising several evil spirits out of him, which afterward possessed a herd of pigs. Often, an astroplanetary ray of energy can have a negative impact on a person too, but one can learn how to channel it through oneself. One can do the same with the negative influences of other people. Evil eye, astral attack. Often a person is oppressed by a thought program, bad habit, or stereotyped reaction. A person can relentlessly put themselves in extreme and difficult positions because of this negative attitude towards themselves. They do this subconsciously, under the influence of other people's opinion, which forms their image of their I. In such cases, the only treatment is a sacrifice which is done in the right way. During their life, a person always sacrifices themselves, their time, life, mind, and psychic energy. In exchange for all this, they can get money and reputation from the world. But none of these can restore the amount of energy they have given up. It could be only restored by the energy given from God and nature. The constant ignorant sacrifice of themselves and their resources leads one to disease, sufferings, and disappointment in life. You are going to become a priest of redemption, a sacrifice in the name of people's salvation. The first and most simple moment of sacrifice is to direct the negative influence to some object belonging to the person, followed by its ritualistic destruction or its dedication to God. Note that the object should not be something that is broken or not needed by this person anymore. It has to be something they are attached to, something which is connected to their destiny. In other words, it's important that a deep emotional connection exists between the person and this object. It must be a part of the person's whole being and their notion of mine. This object is supposed to be voluntarily and with awe sacrificed by the person. Then your task is to get the person to recollect their illness and suffering and project it onto this object. Look at it with unfixed gaze and transfer the negative feeling on it with each out-breath whilst saying goodbye to the object. This state would help the person to visualize how the disease got transferred into the object, and it would bring them relief. Then it needs to be destroyed or cleansed and dedicated to God, a special prayer performed over water, i.e., dedicated to the temple. While this is happening, the person is praying for the disease to be transferred onto the object. After the disease has passed, which feels like a relief, you need to get rid of the object. Either burn it or cleanse it with water by throwing it into a body of water. From that moment on, the object should not have an owner, so that the disease will not be transferred onto a human. After that, the prayer of gratitude to God should be done. There is another more difficult way to release karma. This is done by the person themselves through the sacrifice of their time, energy, and means of existence. They swear to God that from this point forward, they will dedicate to God all the things God has given them, their life, power, and means of existence, or at least a part of them. After that, the person pays for their karma by actions which gratify God, building a temple, helping people, learning the highest knowledge of truth, and practicing genuinely and devotedly self-development under the guidance of higher powers. If a person breaks their oath or falls away from doing their God-pleasing deeds, or does it without diligence, karma will return to them twofold. Practically all the studies of self-development could have become such sacrifice if they would be devoted to God and done with awareness, under the guidance of a competent master. A person can also exchange a bad habit for a good one and give up their bad thoughts or evil attitudes towards people. Service to God by itself gives a person new powers and leads them out of deadlock and life crisis. On the other hand, passive expectations of healing miracles, apathy, and cultivation of hopeless thoughts, those are the true causes of disease. Often fate inflicts pain on a person because they have lived their life driven by low interests and wasted their powers on sinful things. Sometime, just a decision to change one's life is enough to change one's state. Of course, there are many people who live in sinful ways, but God punishes the one He loves. It means that a person who suffers a lot in their life has a high purpose. When you do the sacrifice, give the following oath. I entrust myself to God. By the guidance of the enlightened and merciful divine powers, to follow the way of good and avoid evil, for my purification from sins. I commit myself to go along the way of perfection shown to me by the keeper of knowledge, diligently and selflessly, and if I won't keep my word, let all the harshest disasters and grief fall upon me. Let the keeper of knowledge grant me the light of his holy mercy and reverence. Aum. If the person decided to sacrifice their image of self, let them take a new image of a known holy person to get completely identified with him and take his name for their spiritual name and start their new life identically to the life of this saint. One has to be prepared for such self-renunciation. This self-renunciation is very powerful and completely changes one's destiny, even in case when one was supposed to die. After this new birth, their life, contrary to their old destiny, could continue in a non-formal way. The law of sacrifice works in the same way as the law of energy exchange. If a person does not actively realize the energy and gifts given to them, they can't receive anything, and their state will become like a swamp. A person has to use their life power. However, they have to use it on the things that will perfect them. Otherwise, degradation, aging, and suffering are unavoidable. Only the things which are higher than us can make us more perfect. Therefore, we need to strive for spiritual power and knowledge If we don't cultivate what is given to us, then things are going to be taken away from us. We are unable to take anything, especially from the spiritual world, without giving away something of ours of a material nature. In order to receive a grain of spiritual energy, we need to put in a lot of effort and time on our self-development. Otherwise, this little grain of spirituality will not be digested by us. This needs to be known by everyone who follows this path. Aum.
In our extreme times, when the fate of the entire planet is at stake, it is crucial for the knowledge of angels and benevolent spirits to spread as quickly as possible, globally, and reach thousands of people. In this way, we can change the future of all humanity. Which is why we are addressing you, dear soul of light. Spread the knowledge about our wise books and films. Share links to videos or cartoons. All of this is available and free. Invite women to individual practices, webinars, and seminars. And the Great Spirit of Light will help you and your family. It will direct an enormous amount of energy to fulfill all your desires. Benevolent spirits and angels will assist you and your loved ones in all matters. A thread of light and love extends from your heart to the hearts of thirsty women, and the creation of good and the dissemination of enlightened knowledge throughout the world begins. Become part of the mission of light. Help people, and God will help you.